Good morning, Craig Howard here. Happy to be with you again this morning. I was reading this morning, and I read about a family that they woke up. They were a family in South Vietnam, and they woke up. They woke up one morning to find. Well, they woke up because a bomb blasted the windows out of the back of their house. Saigon was falling, and they were in danger because the mother had been a translator for the Americans at the American Embassy, and so that put her on the hit list. So they each packed up a small bag, and they rushed to the airport. It took most of the night going through ditches and hiding along the way, but they got to the airport where people were trying to get out of Vietnam. And to make a long story short, they eventually made it to the United States. But once they got here, they had nothing but the small bags that they had packed, and they weren't sure what they were going to do. But there was a church in Lafayette, Indiana, and this church had believed that they were supposed to care for those that nobody else cared for. And they sent word that they would sponsor a refugee family if one was available, because they knew that all these refugees were coming in. So this family was sent to them. And this family had never heard of this church, knew nothing about this church, knew nothing about the God they worshiped, knew nothing about anything that they believed. But when they got there, this church worked very hard to set them up in a home, set them up with furniture, provide them with food, show them love and compassion and caring. And they said, they didn't know people like that existed. They came to believe that America was a very special place, but even more importantly, they came to believe that the God that this church believed in must be a good God and was a God they wanted to know more about. It wasn't a simple thing for this church to do this. It required sacrifice on the part of many people in the church for them to do this. But they believed this was what God was calling them to. The scripture says religion that God our Father accepts as pure. In other words, what God says is a true, pure religion. And faultless is this: to look after the orphans and widows in their distress, to keep oneself from being polluted by the world. Over in James chapter 2, verses 14 to 17, are some of the most powerful verses that I think are in the Bible, because they really hit us between the eyes. It says, "What good is it, my brothers and sisters, if someone claims to have faith but has no deeds? Can such faith save them? Suppose a brother or sister is without clothes and daily food. If one of you says to them, 'Go in peace, keep warm and well fed,' but does nothing about their physical needs, what good is it? In the same way, faith by itself, if not accompanied by action, is dead." I think sometimes it's too easy in this world because there is so much need around us. Let's face it. I mean, the need is overwhelming. I sometimes, by the end of the week, I'm exhausted by the requests that I've had for help and for the just for the overall amount of need that exists around that is beyond my ability to do anything. And sometimes when we're faced with all of that, we look at the world and we throw up our hands and we say, it's too much. There's nothing I can do. There's just too much. But God doesn't call us to fix every situation. He says, look around and see what you can do. And if someone has come to you and they have a need and it's within your power to make a difference in that need, or if you see a need and it's within your power to make a difference in that need. Then he said that's where true faith comes into play, because it's putting yourself in the background and someone else first, and it's being willing to make sacrifices, and sacrifices hurt. I can't say I do it 100% of the time, but when I do, I know I've done the right thing, just like what this church did. Well, my time is up. I hope you have a great day today. Mom, if you're watching, I love you. God bless.